Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of Playing World of Tanks. I'm AJ, and today we'll be looking at a game that I had in my T29, which is the American Tier 7 heavy tank, and probably one of the best tanks to get in the game as well. Now, the T29 that I have a special attachment. I sold it just because I didn't have a crew for it for a very long time. I actually put a new crew in my T34, started training up one, just so I can put in this tank. And finally we had a decent crew. It still doesn't have 6th Sense, it still doesn't have its first skills researched, but still, it is still a fun tank to drive without them regardless. Now, Pilsen is an interesting map. I'd never go the 09 line generally in most of my tanks, just because there's RD on the enemy team, and unless you want to really push through the field really fast to negate the RD, there's absolutely no point in going there. This time, however, I kind of decided that I'll go there just because I have a big heavy tank with a really good turret, so there's absolutely no point in not going hull down in that direction and actually doing some fair damage. Now, to be honest, like at this point, I am slightly overextended, but not by much. But as you will see, my mistake in this game, which I somehow pull out, is that I actually was really overextended, and I somehow got myself back in the game, and I will let you know when I actually do that. Pilsen is still, if you're not so sure, you should go the 1-2 line instead of going the 0-9 line, just because it seems like teams who dominate the 1-2 line generally tend to win more often, and vice versa is generally not true. So at first, I stick around in the back. Now I'm actually pretty much overextending at this point, just because I really have no support behind me. But that was because I didn't want the enemy team to be in a position where they can take advantage of what was going on. Now the object 416 puts a nice shot in my cupola, and I put one shot into him in return. At first I thought, that it was going to be purely a one-on-one engagement, but, that soon changes because, the KV-13 that I shot earlier actually shows up to assist his Object 416 buddy. Now, one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to just focus one tank down over here and not worry about the other one. And even when I'm not loaded, what I will do is I'll turn my turret in the other direction just so I can, bounce a shot or two, which the KV-13 will try to rush. So the KV-13 over here actually is trying his best to sort of distract me. I'm kind of not interested. I'm still shooting the Object 416 because he's the more dangerous tank between the two right now. At this point, I decided not to use my repair kit, and KV-13 somehow bounces my shot. And at this point, the Object 416 rushes me, but the KV-13, his buddy, gets taken out. At this point, he just can't run away from me. I don't know what he was trying to do at this point. If he was trying to get away from me, he should have just circled that house, and I would not have been able to get him. And I put a shot into his back, which takes him out. Now at this point, I was moving into the middle because I kind of realized that the enemies had pushed through, and I might be able to help my Yak Panther 2 buddy who was facing in the E75 in front. Now the other interesting thing is that the other flank is more or less has come to a standstill, and there's only a handful of tanks remaining over here. Now I was concerned that the E75 was going to actually rush the Yak Panther 2, just flat out just come out and actually rush him, so I sort of put myself in a situation where I can shoot him if he actually decides to do so. But it seems like the E75 on the enemy team was pretty hesitant in what he wanted to do, and so at this point I kind of decide that if he's not gonna come out and actually take up the Yak Panther, maybe it's better for me to sort of try to get behind him. And again, I'm just telling the Yak Panther 2 that I'm actually sitting over here looking at the E75 as well. I think the Yak Panther 2 finally spotted me looking in his direction, so he was a little bit more relaxed about doing certain things. He just went around and tried to take a shot at the E75. But this essentially is me trying to figure out what the E75 was doing. I didn't think the E75 would be this, this torn about pushing into a Yak Panther 2 and another tank. I mean, the Yak Panther 2 was just basically a one-shot. So at this point, I decide, you know, it's wiser for me to just go around. It doesn't seem like the E75 wants to push, and at this point, I decide once I come around the corner, the first tank I'm gonna shoot is the T34 because he's probably the easier tank to shoot for me to shoot while staying hull down. So the T34 is paying no attention whatsoever. He backs up. I put one more shot into him, and at this point, he kind of realizes that he's in trouble. I know I kind of reload faster than the T34, but I still don't want to take shot from the T34. So I'm side scraping. Again, the thing you have to keep in mind, side scraping on American tanks is not actually easy. They don't have a lot of side armor. They can be pinned if you're not careful about it. And at this point, the T34, I don't know what he's doing. Gives up or decides to shoot somebody else, and I managed to put my last shot into him. Again, with the E75, I'm side scraping because he decides to look in my direction. I don't want to sort of like take a shot from him, but since he's firing a PCR, which has a lot of pen, it was going through anyways, and the Yak Panther 2 just comes around the corner and finishes the E75 off. So with this done, we have only 2 tanks remaining on the other flank. One is the T10 and the other is the RD. So at this point, I was trying to figure out like where did he actually shoot me, and I kind of like see the mark on the side of my tank. Not really a big deal. I still have health to take. Well, actually, I don't have health to take a shot from the T10. At this point, I load APCR just because I don't want to mess around with the T10, who might actually just get the better of me. And the Yak Panther 2 takes out the RD for. I thought the Yak Panther 2 might take out the T10 because he just fired, but he goes for the RD, and I decide I'll go for the T10. I take the long way around because I was trying to get behind the RD, and the T10 sort of like starts retreating. I come around the corner and put my last shot into him, which basically is the game. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Feel free to like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next episode of Playing World of Tanks.